It's time for Reason.
But we can do so much better than just on the political front and taxes and government spending and government regulation. We can show by example that we're not going to have crazy fanatics running around our schools because they're so mentally unstable. We can prove that random acts of kindness, that a hashtag or the road to kindness can lead to something productive, and that we can have a community that's actually going to be better off because of that.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Yeah, it's a brand new day, it's a brand new week, a brand new opportunity for you to enjoy a whole another day. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, broadcasting live across the entire Mid-America region on the entire Mid-America Network, along with the Big Talker KQAM, hailing from Wichita, Kansas, simulcasting on KGPT TV, channel 2610. We got a lot of ways for you to watch it, listen to it, and welcome aboard. It is a Monday morning. We got to get you pumped up, get you excited, get you ready for a whole nother week, baby. We are 1 week closer to St. Patrick's Day. We're 1 week closer to Easter, and let's celebrate a little bit. What do you say?
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get
That's the way we roll on a Monday morning. Welcome into it. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, you are more than welcome to call in, talk about whatever you want to. We have a lot to get to today. So much information that always rolls around, especially on the weekends. They seem to try and squeeze things through on the weekend when we're not paying attention, and that way we don't know what's actually going on. And as the activist, as the engaged voter in our region, in our area, no matter where you may be, it's our duty, our responsibility to stay on the up and up when it comes to some of the policies that they try to slip on through on a daily basis. So welcome into it. Great to have you along today on a Monday morning. At the bottom of the hour, in about 20 minutes, we're going to have Sam Williams. We had him on the show on Friday. We'll play that interview. He was the secretary for the Department of Revenue. As we saw the tax receipts for the month of February, higher than anticipated, higher than projected. And what is the cause of that? We'll talk with the Secretary for the Department of Revenue for the state of Kansas at the bottom of the hour, Mr. Sam Williams. In the 8 o'clock hour, we'll get our legislative update from State Representative Blake Carpenter. We have not talked to him in a while, and looking forward to doing so today. I want to see a show of hands, though, today. How many individuals watched the Oscars last night? Oh, yeah, they were on, right? They were happening, supposedly, allegedly. They were actually on TV, and they were talking about wonderful ways to actually entertain you, right? They didn't talk about any kind of politics. They didn't talk about any type of women's rights or minority rights or this or that. No, they were purely entertainment value, right? We make movies, we're actors, we're pretenders for a living, we make lots of money doing it, and we want to thank everybody for watching our product. That's what they talked about, right? Yeah, that's what they talked about. I have to say, it's so hard. Everybody has their Hollywood crushes, and we've talked about the Hollywood crushes before, and everybody looks up to certain ones. My very first role model, quote unquote, idol that I looked up to, someone that I really, really enjoyed when I was a kid, was Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've always enjoyed their action movies. I've always enjoyed, my very first adult movie, quote unquote, as a kid that I got to watch was The Terminator. Terminator 2, actually. Judgment Day. If you remember that one. That was my very first adult movie, my PG-13 rated movie that I got to watch as a kid. And since then, I had been a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I always have. I've always loved Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've loved his movies. I loved reading his biography that I got to get. What was it? Total Recall. I got to read that. I loved it. I've always been fascinated with Arnold Schwarzenegger. If I ever got to meet somebody, probably him or Sylvester Stallone would be ones that I would love to meet. I've always enjoyed that. Then I got to see Rocky, and I got to see Rambo, and I got to see all these other, and I'm big on the action movies. That's what I enjoy. Then you get to learn on them on a personal level, whether you see kind of a one-on-one interview with them, or you hear their stories about them having their affairs or who they're dating, and you watch entertainment news or whatever. I don't know if you follow that stuff. I don't necessarily, because I don't really care. Makes no difference to me. At the end of the day, who they're dating in Hollywood and in Los Angeles makes no difference to me when I'm going to work on a daily basis. So the entertainment news does not faze me one way, shape, or form. However, it does sometimes knock someone down a few notches when you start seeing some of the scandals that they're in, or you hear the kind of personality that they end up having. I was a huge fan of Bruce Willis for the longest time until I realized how much of a jerk he kind of was in person. So I've heard. Now, I'm not going to judge somebody who I've not met, but at the same time, for example, in The Expendables 3, which I am a very big fan of the Expendables movies because, again, it's all the same awesome action heroes all into one kind of movie. I got a little upset because I had heard that Bruce Willis was offered to be in that one as he had been in the first two, and he turned it down because they offered him, like, I don't know, $1 million for 2 days of shooting, and he got upset and said no, he wanted like $4 or $7 million for 2 days of shooting the film, and he turned it down. So instead they went another direction. They got Harrison Ford for like $500,000 instead, and that was it. And just the stuck-up snottiness of that mentality of, oh no, it's not enough, I want $7 million, not $1 million for 2 days of shooting. That kind of mentality kind of really turned me off, and I stopped watching Bruce Willis movies. I'm kind of excited about the Death Wish coming out here that just came out, but I've been very upset, and I kind of got knocked down a little bit with me supporting someone like Bruce Willis. So that's what we've seen is the personality of these individuals. Maybe the money goes to their head. Maybe the fame and celebrity status goes to their head. I don't know what it is, but now we've seen the political agenda reflect into all of the shows. You would think after the ratings go down for some of these, whether it's the Golden Globes, whether it's the Oscars, whether it's the whatever other type of shows that there are, you would think that after a while you would try and say, hey, you know what, let's try and not be political here because the ratings are going down. We're going to be partisan, and we're going to start marginalizing our support. And if you don't want someone to be turned away from your product or from your movies or from whatever, then maybe you shouldn't stay political. Metallica, the band, has done a very, very good job of that because he says, you know what, I'm not going to talk politics. I don't want to marginalize half of my viewership and half of my listenership. I want the support of all of my fans to enjoy my music, and I don't want them to think about politics when I actually make a statement. So I'm not going to do it. And I respect people for that. And we've talked about this many times before of celebrities that just say, I'm out. I don't want to talk politics because I don't want to upset some of my fans. Or the ones that do end up becoming political, and then they do marginalize a lot of their fans. I don't like to see that. But now it's all about the movement where they think because they make a lot of money, to where a lot of people enjoy their product of them pretending to do something as an actor, which it takes a lot of skill. I used to be an actor myself. I enjoy it very much so. But when you pretend that way, now all of a sudden you think that people care about what you think politically. And you have to make these political statements. And you have to whatever, and it's frustrating because now that's all it is about. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, has done a very good job of staying non-political. They've joked about running for president, but we don't know any of his policies. We don't know any of his ideas, although I do know that he is very, very much in tune with the military. If you've noticed for Christmas, 2 years in a row, he's gone on to a late-night talk show, and he surprised a family with a military family or with a military individual returning home to their family for the holidays as a surprise gift that he has organized. He's done that. I respect that. But other than that, he doesn't talk politics. But now with the women's movement, with the hashtag #MeToo movement, with the sexual harassment cases, with the injustices in society, with the fascist Donald Trump. That's what everybody's talking about. Jimmy Kimmel made the statement last night, again, trashing Trump, trashing Pence, trashing the Republicans, just doing what they normally do. And everybody, the clapping seals in the crowd. It's fantastic. It's hilarious. And then they see the injustices, quote unquote, when it comes to women actually getting paid the same as men in Hollywood. And I want to ask you a question. Is this an injustice? Is this bigotry and sexism of the fact that women don't get paid as much as men in Hollywood? Or is it the capitalist system at its best? And the way that I mean that is, do you have the same name recognition as somebody else? Is it because you have different genitalia and that you are a man versus a woman? Or is it because that you've maybe been in the game a little bit longer? Maybe because you've made some more successful movies? Maybe because people know your name more so than somebody else, and that is why you actually get paid more? It breaks my heart because Natalie Portman, as I mentioned before, used to be a huge crush of mine. She was in Star Wars. She was Padme, and I enjoyed it. She's about the same age as me, and she was a Hollywood crush. I enjoyed it. But now she's become so political that, again, I will not watch her movies anymore. Compared to men in most professions, women make 80% or 80 cents to the dollar. According to Oscar-winning actress Natalie Portman, in Hollywood, we are making 30 cents to the dollar. You're making millions of dollars, but yet you're still making 30 cents to the dollar compared to men. Cool. I mean, we get paid a lot, so it's hard to complain, but the disparity is crazy. I do have, and we'll do this when we come back after the break, I do have the top 20 most paid actors in Hollywood from June of 2016 to June of 2017. And we'll break that down for you for the top 20 highest paid actors. And the question is, do you really care who actually gets paid the most? It's interesting to listen to and interesting to see. But number two, is there a disparity of women versus men getting paid in Hollywood? And is it because of bigotry in Hollywood, which is, by the way, the sector of the industry, sector of the society that actually tries to get rid of disparities, tries to get rid of different racist tactics or bigotry tactics against men versus women or whatever they're trying to do. You see all the movies about trying to show the injustices in society when supposedly they're doing it themselves. So the question I have for you, do you really care about what the Hollywood elites are doing? When they make comments, does it actually phase you one way or another? And when they start complaining about not getting paid the same amount as somebody else, is that something we need to look at, or do we just laugh at them and say that you are sitting way too high on your pedestal right now? It's a Monday morning. Let's start off the show the right way. What do you say?
You're listening to the Voice of Reason on the Mid-American Network.
Hello, this is Aaron Robbins from Zeller Motors. I want to thank all of our loyal customers for your continued support and business through the years. You are all the reason we won back-to-back Customer First Awards from Chrysler for outstanding customer service. Zeller Motors also received the 2018 Mark of Distinction Award, awarded to only 3 Chrysler dealers in Kansas. We invite you to come see for yourself why Zeller Motors customer service is awarded every year at 3021 North Summit Street in Arc City, or check us out at ZellerMotors.com.
Hey, good morning to you. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Great to have you along today on a Monday morning, 24 minutes past the hour. Welcome aboard. Let's have a little fun today. What do you say? I have to admit, I have not been too enthralled by many new movies that's come out. I really haven't. I'm a movie aficionado. I love watching movies. I love watching it. And we have to admit that whether we like it or not, many movies, Hollywood, not necessarily the actors or actresses, but Hollywood itself and the products they come out with really bring awareness to certain topics, certain societal issues, certain current events, and we look to them in many times to help us get a grip on certain ideologies. It's true. If you watch documentaries, if you watch entertainment movies, if you watch confrontational movies, if you watch maybe some of the outside of the norm Hollywood movies, maybe some of the B movies, if you go to maybe some of the movie festivals and see some of the independent products, then it really does craft it. It does help us move society in one way or another when it comes to, or set the tone for certain discussions. In good ways and bad ways, I will admit. The actors and actresses, however, that does not mean that they are specialists all of a sudden when it comes to current events or political issues. And why we listen to them, it really kind of boggles the mind a little bit. But nonetheless, we have to admit, I don't watch new movies a whole lot anyways. My wife and I we just bought over the weekend. I've been looking for this forever. I could not find it. I finally found it. The last season of Quantum Leap. How many people actually remember Quantum Leap? Season 5. Yeah, we just bought it finally over the weekend. Now I have all 5 seasons of Quantum Leap on DVD. That's what I'm watching. I'm not watching any of the new stuff, really. I'm not watching new movies. I'm not watching the trends of what's happening with the latest and greatest when it comes to Hollywood, because I don't care. If it's an entertaining value movie, I'll watch it. I did watch Wonder Woman. I actually think that's the last one that I've seen that's been new, because I don't care. If it's entertaining, I'll watch it. I am watching, by the way, the new Punisher on Netflix. I am watching that because I do enjoy the Punisher. But other than that, it really does not bother me one way or another. So the question is to you, how much of these movies or how much that these actors actually say, the comments that they make, how much does it affect you on a daily basis? How much does it affect you when you're going to work, or how much does it affect you when you're going to the voting booth thinking about certain issues? Did a movie that an actor or actress made open your eyes to a different way of thinking about a certain issue? It does to many people. Has it done that to you? And should they have that much influence on you regularly? 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones this morning, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
This is Pete.
Hey, good morning, Pete. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You
Good.
know, when it comes to what actors think, it goes down to that old phrase, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone's got one, and some should not be viewed.
Well, that is true. Now, I mean, I get that many have opinions, just like you and I. You're right. I mean, we sit at the pub, we have a drink, we talk about politics, we talk about our opinion. But because they make more money, or because people follow them and what they do with their careers, does that make their opinion more valuable than anybody else's?
Well, frankly, I don't think so. I mean, if a bunch of people follow them, there's always going to be sycophants out there. But it goes to, the life experience that you can meet the most beautiful woman in the world, and she is absolutely drop dead gorgeous until she opens her mouth and you see what a bag of cats is in her head.
Well,
and that's the way it is and I don't mean that just against women, but I mean, same thing with guys in Hollywood. Man, you can think he is the manliest man stud that ever existed, and until he opens his mouth, you find out he's a blooming idiot.
Well, that is a good point.
I mean, actresses would be better served by keeping their mouths shut.
That is very true. I mean, I told you, my Hollywood crush had been Natalie Portman for a long time. Now she's going off about all these disparities about women in Hollywood and how they make 30 cents on the dollar, which she's still making multi-millions of dollars. So I don't know what she's complaining about, but she's still all about the liberal activism now. My wife's Hollywood crush has been Chris Hemsworth, Thor, the big hunky kind of guy. And he's got the Australian accent. He's got the beady blue eyes. He's got the blonde hair. He's all built. I mean, that's her Hollywood crush, or it was her Hollywood crush. Come to find out, he's got a daughter, and when his daughter had mentioned the fact that she feels like a boy, and when she grows up she wants to be a boy, his comment was, well, you can be whatever you want to, even if you want to change your gender to become a boy. That kind of lost her interest of wanting to become her Hollywood crush. I mean, you're right, when they open their mouths and they say something completely absurd and ridiculous, then we start to say, oh, okay, I don't know if I want to follow this person anymore.
And as the new movies, I went and saw Black Panther last night.
Was it good?
And, it was good, but I think it's way overhyped.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it gave a lot of backstory. I thought the acting was great. But then they had to interject some of the political stuff into the storyline. And it just I come away from it going, okay, it was all right, but I don't know that I'm going to sit there and rave over it the way a lot of people have.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I don't know if we're tainted because we follow politics more than most people, I guess, listening to talk radio and listening to current events and following this on a daily basis. I don't know. We may be tainted, but nowadays, whether it's intended or not intended, I see political motives behind just about every movie now, and it drives me nuts. And it makes it very difficult to just sit back and actually enjoy the quality of a movie.
Well, it's a superhero movie, and it should be for entertainment value. Now, if you want to see a historical movie or a documentary-type movie, okay, then if you want to inject politics into that, that's what it's there for.
Sure.
But I wanted to see Black Panther to be entertained, not lectured.
Well, that's a good point. Pete, I appreciate it very much. So great to talk to you. Happy Monday, my friend. Take a bottom of the hour break. When we come back, I will give you the top 10 highest paid actors, and then we'll also play our interview with Sam Williams, the Secretary for the Department of Revenue for the state of Kansas, talking about tax revenues from the month of February in Kansas. Lots to get to today. It's a Monday. Stay here.
Patriotism is alive and well.
We were so excited when Donald Trump got elected that we weren't going to be bullied any longer. We weren't going to have people push us around. We're not going to apologize for who we are, and we're not going to let people walk all over us. We're not going to tolerate it because we're not the weak, spineless country that we used to be.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Oh, yeah, making it happen today on a Monday morning. Great to have you along. Welcome aboard. This is The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live across the entire Mid-America network on the Mid-America, in the Mid-America region, on the Mid-America network. We love having you aboard. Welcome. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Real quick, keeping it kind of fun this morning. Here is the top 10, let's do the top 20. What the heck? The top 20 highest paid actors in Hollywood today. And many of these, I don't even know. I don't even know who they are. Maybe you can help me out with that. Number 20, Jeremy Renner. No idea. $19 million last year. Now, this is from June of 2016 to June of 2017, a one-year period on how much money these actors and actresses have made. Jeremy Renner, number 20, $19 million. Matt Damon, $21 million, number 19. The only thing I know he made was the new Jason Bourne movie. Wasn't that it? Wasn't that the only thing that $19 million for that? I mean, I guess it's worth it. Ryan Reynolds, $21.5 million at number 18. Jennifer Lawrence, who has now said she's going to take the next year off to fight for political activism, is number 17 at $24 million. Jennifer Aniston, number 16, $25.5 million. What she's done in the last year, I have no idea. I have not seen a single one of her new movies. Emma Stone, 15, $26 million. Ryan Gosling, ooh, the heartthrob from The Notebook. Ryan Gosling, number 14 at $29 million last year. Don't know what he's made since then, but cool. Samuel L. Jackson, $30.5 million, number 13 on the list of some of the highest paid actors from 2016-2017. Tom Hanks, $31 million at number 12. Chris Hemsworth, the man himself. I mean, I can at least see that because I know that he's made some movies. I don't know what these other individuals have actually made in the last year. Chris Hemsworth, $31.5 million at number 11. Number 10, Akshay Kumar. Have no idea who that is. $35.5 million. Number 9, Solomon Khan, $37 million. Number 8, Shah, and if I pronounce these badly, I apologize very much, Joe. Shah Rukh Khan, $38 million. Have no idea who that is. Robert Downey Jr. at Tom Cruise, number 7, $43 million. Robert Downey Jr., number 6 at 48. Jackie Chan, number 5 at $49 million. At least he deserves it there. I've seen him make some movies. Adam Sandler, number 4, $50.5 million. Have no idea what he's made in the last year, but cool. Vin Diesel, number 3 at $54.5 million. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, number 2 at $65 million. He was number 1 a couple of years ago. And number 1 highest paid actor in Hollywood from June of 2016 to June of 2017, Mr. Mark Wahlberg at $68 million. There you go, the highest paid actors in Hollywood over the last year. It's interesting to see, does that mean that women are getting paid less than men? Because even someone like Jennifer Aniston is not making as much as Mark Wahlberg at $68 million in 1 year. 1 year! And these individuals want to complain about the disparities of the world, kind of like a NFL player protesting the country for the history of minority groups when they're making multi-millions of dollars playing a game for a living. All right, I want to shift gears a little bit. We interviewed Sam Williams. He is the Secretary for the Department of Revenue. We interviewed him on Friday on the show talking about some of the revenues in the state, as for 9 months in a row now, 9 consecutive months, we've seen revenues higher than the projections. What does that all mean? And Sam Williams sat down with us on Friday, and this is what he had to say. He is the Secretary for the Department of Revenue, Mr. Sam Williams, back with us. Sam, how are you, my friend?
Good morning, Andy. Doing well, thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for coming back on the program.
You're welcome.
It is good news that we've had 9 consecutive months with tax receipts higher than projections. That is good. Why do you think that is?
I think it's good for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think our focus is coming to what we're receiving versus what we're projecting, and therefore I think that helps us understand our budgeting process, and the policymakers have something they can truly base their work on. And then also, I think you alluded it to in your remarks leading up to this, we are seeing growth in the economy, and we also had a tax policy change, and the result of those two things happening, I think, is starting to be positive in what we're seeing happen with Kansas receipts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we are. It's going to be, first off, it's going to be, I would say, common sense for the most part that when we raise taxes on everybody, we're going to see tax revenue go up because people are going to be paying more into that. So that's a factor of that. But from your perspective, too, and I love your department because you're really non-political. You don't get into the political bantering from the legislators. But do you see other trends as well, other than just the higher tax rates? Do you see the state of Kansas actually growing its economy a little bit as compared with the nation?
What I'm using for my primary indicator of that we're seeing that happen is two things. Number one, in the individual income tax area, we are seeing growth because of the tax increase, but our level of growth at this time is slightly higher than what we would have seen just with a tax increase. That's encouraging. We won't know till April 17th exactly how it is because of the way the tax policy was written last year. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing, Andy, is sales tax revenue is staying constant. It's showing a good, slightly above real, it's showing some real growth, above the inflation. And so the combination of those two things, I think, is leading me to believe that our Kansans are more confident in their individual cases, and we're seeing some of that growth that we're seeing nationally. I think we're starting to see some of that indicated in what we're seeing in our Kansas numbers.
Sure. Are you able to track some of the industries in Kansas, say like aviation here for the Wichita area or for agriculture, oil, natural gas? And are you seeing some of those industries by themselves begin to pick up in the state as well?
What we're able to track as we go through our revenue estimating process is we can break down and look at those. And because of the increase in the oil price, gas price in the last few months, we are seeing growth in there. Ag still remains an area of concern because we still see the lower commodity prices. So encouragement in oil and gas and more of the same, at least at this point in the ag industry.
Sure. You mentioned the process of how you guesstimate when it comes to the monthly revenues, when it comes to the monthly receipts. We talked a while ago, and back in, I believe it was the fall, late end of year, 2015-ish, when the formula changed a little bit to try and reset the numbers, I guess, to be able to anticipate what was going to happen with some of these industries. That formula to guesstimate on what the tax receipts and the revenues would be changed a little bit. Have we changed it at all since then?
No, and what happened in November of 15 was not a change in the process itself. There was an adjustment made to the April's consensus revenue estimates, adjusting them for what was actually happening in the oil and gas and the ag and the Kansas economy. Mm-hmm. So the system itself, the process of doing the revenue estimate, didn't change, but it was. The estimates were were adjusted down because of the reality of what was going on in the economy in Kansas.
Sure. So we adjusted it to bring it down a little bit. Do you think that shows or have some type of effect of when we hear a story from the mainstream media, from a newspaper, from the TV, from wherever, and it says, look, we hit above projections this for the month of February was like $29 million. We hit above projections. Would that have anything to contribute to that as well with that change in to what the industries had looked like and what we were guesstimating in that sense?
No, because in April of 2015, we did a new consensus revenue estimate and adjusted for what we would hope to see happen in fiscal 18. And so it was adjusted at that time. And so what we're seeing now is truly a reflection of any change in tax policy, both federally and state, mm-hmm. and also real growth in our economy. So as of April last year, we were in a new projection cycle.
So it really is honestly good news when we see money coming in like this to show that things are actually beginning to do better.
I'm looking at it this way, Andy. I think that we are stabilized. The beginning of any opportunity for growth and so forth, I always began when I was running my own business. I want to make sure that I knew that today was real and it was what I could plan and what I could build on. And I think that's what I see now with our receipts is that we can actually expect them to stay where they are, and then we can build on that.
Sure. We're talking with Sam Williams, Secretary for the Kansas Department of Revenue. Last couple questions before we let you go, but looking at some of the other surrounding neighboring states that we've seen, I don't know how much you follow them, but as you mentioned, the happy blend between our state policies and the federal policies, are we seeing some of the other neighboring states see some growth as well when it comes to these industries?
Yes, we are, and as we look at that regularly, and especially as we get around to the revenue estimating process, which is led by the budget and the KLRD, and we are seeing this also in our neighboring states.
That is really good to hear, and I know that I kind of want to get your opinion on this. I know you're non-political in that sense, but how much of the Trump tax cuts at the end of last year do you think have an effect on this? It had a definite immediate effect in our tax receipts in the January-December period because of the elimination of state and local income tax deduction in this year. We saw people prepaying in order to take advantage of that. So some of that bounce that we expected to see in April, we probably got in the December-January timeframe. As far as the economics, this is just my personal opinion, I think it began at the time of the election, and so it's a growing phenomenon. And then what happened is the tax bill was passed, and for corporate America, it was a huge influence. February, we have all started seeing now more income in our pockets, and I think that just leads to changing how people feel about what's going on, and I think that's what's happening in Kansas too. Sure, but after the election, as you mentioned, kind of that breath of fresh air of, we have some potential for the economy to begin growing again, and we saw it nationally with a 3.5% GDP growth the first couple quarters of Trump's administration, whereas we hadn't seen above 3% nationally in the 8 years of Barack Obama, so I think that contributed to it as well.
We are definitely seeing different numbers. That is for sure.
Very good. I love it. Sam Williams, Secretary for the Department of Revenue. Sam, I loved having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on. It's great insight to leave. And the last question for you, what can we do locally here other than just continue to feel encouraged? We should feel a little bit more stable, feel a little bit encouraged, and that can help our local communities, can it not?
I would answer that question by just going back to when I was running a business, helping run a business. I looked for stability and for an environment in which I could grow. And I think our Kansas economy is showing great signs of being an economy in which I can grow my businesses. Doesn't mean we don't have challenges,
sure,
but I would feel confidence
the opportunities there.
In growing my business. Yep,
the opportunities there. Sam, thank you so much for joining the show, my friend. We'll get you back on again real soon.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Andy. Have a great day.
There it is, Sam Williams, Kansas Department of Revenue, back after this. Welcome into the Voice of Reason, making it happen today on a Monday morning, broadcasting live all across the entire Mid-America region on the entire Mid-America Network. Appreciate you hanging out with us today. But it's time for some news with Rick. What do you say? What's happening?
Hey, good morning, man. How are you?
It's a Monday morning. We're just rocking and rolling.
It's been very nature-ish lately.
Nature-ish?
Nature-ish over the weekend. Governor Jeff Collier out in western Kansas has declared a disaster emergency in response to a wildland fire in Stevens County in southwest Kansas. The governor says additional counties may be added to this declaration as response operations continue. The Kansas Division of Emergency Management activated the State Emergency Operations Center in Topeka on Saturday at an enhanced steady state due to very high and extreme fire weather conditions across the state. The greatest concern, though, in the western half of the state. Continue on the Nature E plan. USGS, that being the U.S. Geological Survey, says... Survey says... There were a couple of earthquakes felt in Wichita yesterday, the latest occurring at around 9:40 last night in Enid, Oklahoma, with a magnitude of 4.2. Of course, Facebook lit up with everybody saying, did you feel that?
Did you feel that? I have been here for 3 years now. I have not felt a single earthquake yet.
Did you feel that? And then the prior one happened at 5 o'clock last night. and it also was a 4.2 magnitude. And Facebook lit up then, too, and said, what did it say?
Did you feel that one?
Did you feel that one?
I have yet to feel one. Being
no
here 3 years.
No reports of damage. I did feel one. I was at a McDonald's drive-thru one night when one happened, right? And the
car's moving.
The car's moving, right? And I thought, I was kind of in the hood, too, at this McDonald's. And I thought maybe somebody was messing with me, like when you push down on the back end of a car and you can feel it moving. No, I got home and I looked at Facebook and it said,
did you feel that?
And I said, yes, I did.
Yes, I did. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wobbly all the time. I'm just going with the flow anyways.
Oh, there was a day.
Oh, well, back in the day.
A Wichita woman and her daughter will be repaying a bank after they repeatedly withdrew money from an ATM that was shooting out $100 bills instead of $5 bills. The Central National Bank sued Christina Ochoa and her mother, Christy Ochoa, after they withdrew more than $14,000 back in January. They went to that ATM more than 50 times, most of them in the middle of the night. Wichita,
of course they did.
Wichita Eagle reports that court records indicate the women have agreed to pay back more than $12,000 plus interest, as well as costs.
We didn't know.
Exactly. And finally this morning, a tractor-trailer driver transporting privately owned luxury cars may have made an expensive mistake last week. The News Journal cites a Wilmington police report, Wilmington, Delaware, that says the driver erroneously thought he could clear a bridge Wednesday but got stuck. The damage extended to several Porsches, Maseratis, Bentleys, and other cars that were being transported in an enclosed, climate-controlled environment from Florida to Delaware. Yeah. So, hey, the good news is the humidity in your Bentley remained right where it needed to be. The roof is gone, however. So
that could be a problem sometimes.
That is the news. I'm out of here.
There it is, Rick, with the news.
And that's the news.
Appreciate it very much. Hour number 2 coming up here in just a moment. Lots to get to today. As you know, there's been a few different stories that have been floating around, one of them being the missing child in the Wichita area. We're going to try sometime this week. I've reached out to some. We're going to try and get some law enforcement or maybe the local FBI or somebody on the show to talk about the process of what they're going to do to try and search for this child. At this point, how do you continue to search? Are you looking for, I hate to say it, it breaks my heart, are you looking for a body? Are you looking for the kid to be hiding somewhere? Are you looking for someone for a kidnapping case? I mean, what do you go about when it comes to the story this late in the game? Also, as you know, and we'll touch on this as soon as we do come back in hour number 2, immigration, the doctor, the scientist, the teacher that's up in Lawrence that ended up getting pulled away from his family and the devastating effects that it had on his family and the heart-wrenching story of him being torn away from his family, being arrested right in front of his family, is in jail and is writing, and now the petitions are being signed to try and let him go because it's really not his fault. We'll talk about that when we come back as well. Should we punish this individual for being here illegally, letting his visas expire on multiple occasions, or should we show a little grace and just let it go under the table, let him go back to his family? We'll talk about that along with some more stuff when we come back. This is your show. It's all about you. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hour number 2 of The Voice of Reason coming up. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
But we can do so much better than just on the political front and taxes and government spending and government regulation. We can show by example that we're not going to have crazy fanatics running around our schools because they're so mentally unstable. We can prove that random acts of kindness, that a hashtag or the road to kindness can lead to something productive, and that we can have a community that's actually going to be better off because of that.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, Yeah, welcome into the Voice of Reason, hour number 2 of the Voice Reason right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, broadcasting live across the entire South Central Kansas region. It's great to have you along. Also simulcasting on KGPT TV, channel 2610. It is a Monday. Welcome aboard. I know you're excited about starting a brand new week. We are officially 2 weeks away from St. Patrick's Day. I think that's something to celebrate, along with actually just setting the tone for a whole new week. What do you say? Let's do it. Let's get you pumped up. Let's get you excited. Let's get you ready to roll, baby, because we have more fun than any other talk show on the radio. This is the Voice of Reason.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started.
That's just what we do. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, you can shoot me a message all across the board on social media, on Facebook on the Voice Reason page, KQAM page, the Twitter at Hoosier Reason. You can always email me, Andy at KQAMradio.com as well. However you want to reach out, you're more than welcome to do so. Coming up in hour number 3, State Representative Blake Carpenter. We have not had him on the show in a good while. We need to get him back on and get a legislative update. We need to talk about some of the gun bills that are going through the legislature and more as we talk about trying to make our community safe, whether it's kids missing, whether it's shootings that happen in our communities, whether it's shootings that happen in our schools, no matter what the situation is. Let's find ways to make our community a safer place to be. So we'll talk with State Representative Blake Carpenter in hour number 3. This hour, though, is open lines to you, 316-721-8255. I have reached out, and we will try and get a member of law enforcement, try and get somebody maybe from the local FBI, somebody in this week. I want to get them on this week to talk about where we go with this missing child. I don't know what their next step is. It's been so long. Do you look for I hate to say it, it breaks my heart to even think about it, but do you look for a body? Do you look for trafficking? Do you look for abuse? Do you look for what do you look for this late in the game? I know you have a window of how long you can search for somebody who may be outside just kind of suffering and doing their thing on their own, that maybe ran away from home or whatever, but you got to think by this point that maybe, just maybe, they're not. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to say it, but where do you go from here? We'll try and talk to some law enforcement this week and see if we can get any details on what we can do and what their next step is looking for a missing child. But I do want to touch on, it's been a hot issue. We're getting into the midterm elections this fall. And one issue that's been brought up over and over and over again, especially at the federal level, is immigration. Now, over the weekend, at the federal level, there was a deadline to where they could have come to a DACA agreement. The Democrats ended up ceasing that. That didn't go anywhere. Surprise, surprise, they're trying to block everything. Remember, with a Republican majority in both chambers, with a Republican presidency, if any agreement gets to happen and the president signs off on it, then the Democrats are in panic because the Republicans will look like the ones, the saving grace to allow DACA recipients, allow illegal immigrants, allow whoever's here to stay here, and then building the wall, which makes it more difficult for them to bring more voters across the border, and it just goes on and on and on. They don't want a deal. They want it to stay stagnant. They want it to stay open. They want it to stay as much in chaos as they can possibly handle. That's what they want. And Kansas has been kind of another, as with taxes, as with the budget, as with every other political issue, it seems like right now, that Kansas has been a kind of the focal point in the main state as an example. Secretary of State Chris Kobach, with coming down with his voter ID laws, trying to have you prove your citizenship, trying to have you prove your identification when you go and vote, is a bad thing for progressives who just want it to be open. Anybody can register. Anybody can vote. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you remember, there was an individual from Lawrence who got torn away from his family. It was a very devastating. Did you remember the video? He was being arrested right in front of his family. They were tearing him apart. It was going to be a devastating thing to his family. They didn't know what they were going to do without him because he has been here for 30 plus years. And why would you tear him apart from his family now? I know. That's terrible. Terrible. I don't know how we're going to survive. This is what the Topeka Capital Journal has to say. From war-torn Bangladesh. Oh, can we play it? Let's play the therapy music here because it's a very sad story, right? It's a sad story, and therefore we should feel really guilty for wanting to tear him from his family, and we should try and show a little bit of sympathy. So let's try and do it. Here on The Voice of Reason, we are a very sympathetic group of individuals who don't follow laws very much, but we try. So here it is from the Topeka Capital Journal. From war-torn Bangladesh to wheat-rich Kansas, vulnerability has followed scientist Syed Ahmed Jamal. Before the story of his arrest and potential deportation went viral and attracted the support of thousands, Jamal wrote from jail about the persecution he faced in his home country that the Kansas City Star reports. Quote, I was a prime target of discrimination and physical violence because I belong to a lingual and ethnic minority known as Biharis. Ethnic slurs were hurled at me all the time. Between 1981 and 1987, I was beaten by a group of people. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. Another group of fundamentalists that had planned to kill me, but I was able to escape with forewarning. Now, 30 years into his American journey, Jamal, a father of 3 U.S.-born children, is facing a different kind of ethnic confrontation, an immigration crackdown that threatens to break up his family. Whatever will he do? How could it happen to an accomplished chemist who's been in the U.S. since Ronald Reagan was president? Some say Jamal has himself to blame. He twice overstayed his visa, according to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and missed chances to keep his status legal. Not to mention the fact that his 4 other siblings that he has all have been naturalized. But that's another story, right? That doesn't matter. Others believe that his January 24th arrest without warning, being handcuffed in front of his wife and kids, a man without a criminal background, reflects the need for immigration laws to be reworked. Here is the cold, hard truth, according to the Topeka Capital Journal. Immigration law is complicated and stringent. Just one slip can make lawful immigrants illegal, and Jamal has a few slips dating back more than a decade. Do you hear the justifications coming out of the story? Just the bleeding heart that comes out of the story. Let me remind you that your feelings are not my factual problems. Here are the facts. You've been here for 30 plus years. You did not become a naturalized citizen. You bounced back and forth between a work visa and a student visa, letting 2 of them, at least over the past few decades, overlap and lapse to where you became an illegal citizen. Or not an illegal citizen, but an illegal resident. You were here when your visa had expired. You were on the ICE watch list because of that fact, because of the fact that you allowed it to lapse. And it finally came back to bite you. You as an individual with 3 kids, with a family, with a wife who wants to maintain your status, who wants to be here, who wants to take care of your family, why, oh why did you spend over 30 years here and not try to get a naturalization process started? All of your other siblings, your 4 or 5 other brothers and sisters that you had, as the stories have been told before that you don't really hear in the mainstream media, have all become naturalized citizens and now U.S. citizens of the United States. Why have you not done the same thing? And now we're supposed to feel bad. He was torn away from his family. He was arrested in front of his family. He's in prison. He was shipped down, by the way, I believe, to Hawaii for a while. Now he's back in the States. Now he's back in Kansas, but he is in prison, and he's writing his letters about talking about the persecution. Why didn't you come through a refugee status then? If you were being imputed, if you were being threatened to be killed, why did you not come in as a refugee status as opposed to a green card? Why? That's the question. Why? And why should we feel bad? Why should we feel guilty for arresting you? Why should we be like, you know what? Okay, you're a chemist, you're a teacher, you're contributing to society. Let's just let it slide. Why? We have laws for a reason, and it makes no sense to me why we would just say, you know what? We need to reform our immigration policy, and it's just too stringent. If you let your green card lapse a little bit and you don't file at the right time and it doesn't get approved at the right time and you let it lapse for 6 months, then, oh, well, that's not really your fault. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We're just going to say, you know what, rule of law? Hey, here's a window. Let's go ahead and throw it out there. Because that's where we're at now. We need to reform it to where it's not as difficult to be able to go through the naturalization process. We need to reform it to where it's not as difficult or expensive to be able to apply for these green cards, right? That's what we need to do. He broke the law. End of story. I don't care about the family situation. I don't care about the sob story. The factual problematic issue is that he let his visas expire twice, and he did nothing to rectify that. He let them expire. He broke the law. He was illegally here in the United States, and you would think of someone who wanted to take care of his family, who didn't want to be torn away from his family, would have rectified that situation a long time ago. 30 plus years in this nation, every single other sibling that he has become a naturalized citizen, and he did nothing to rectify that situation. 316-721-8255. I have very little sympathy for this. If you break the law, you break the law. End of story. If you think the law is unjust, which it is not in this case because we have immigration laws for a reason, but if you feel that, then you can try and fight it, but you still follow the law at the time until you actually change it. You cannot become the rebel. It's like people trying to say that I'm not going to pay my taxes this year because I don't feel justified in wanting to give the government that much money. You know what? Great. All the power to you, but at the same time, you're going to get arrested for not paying your IRS dues. You try and fix them through legislative duties while you still pay your taxes. You don't just stop paying them. I know, what was it, back in the 70s, 60s, people tried to stop paying their taxes. It didn't work out very well for them, did it? It didn't change anything. It didn't stop the IRS. All it did was get you arrested and get you in trouble to where you owed back taxes. That's all it did. If you have an issue with immigration, then we need to fix it. We need to address it. But at the same time, you still need to follow the laws. When your visa expired twice over a 30-year span, maybe even more than that, and everybody else in your family became a naturalized citizen except for you, and now you're playing the victim, sorry, I don't buy it, and I do not feel sympathy in any way, shape, or form. Ship him back. And then he can go through the regular process again, and then he can be reunited with his family. Maybe I'm being heartless, but I want to hear from you. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Let's go right to the phones. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Maybe I'm being heartless, but I want to hear from you.
Hello. No, I guess let's turn down your radio when you're on the phone there. That way we don't hear you in the background. We heard that. We do have our delay going on. So let me get back to you in just a second. Let's go back to line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Jim, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm just absolutely amazed. I think the obvious problem is this college professor wasn't actually smart enough to understand the rules.
It's kind of sad, isn't it?
Well, I don't know whether he should actually be deported, but he should certainly be whipped with a wet noodle. Another comment I want to make on something different, too, real quick. If these people who are wanting to have gun control got rid of every gun in the country except single-shot Kentucky flintlocks, they would still need to have the teachers armed to defend against that.
Well, that is true. That is true. Jim, I appreciate it very much. You're right, and I want to try and stay on topic here with this. And you're right. Whether some believe that he should be deported or not deported is up in the air, but should we punish this individual? He's sitting in prison right now. I agree that he should be sitting in prison. The fact that ICE actually charged him instead of local law enforcement means that he's not going to be it's not going to be kind of a catch and release option right now because ICE is the one that actually has him detained. So let's let him sit in prison for a little bit. Let's let him realize what he's done. Let's give him the options. Let him start at the back of the line again. And then if he wants to actually start that process, then we can actually have a conversation about it. So I appreciate that, Jim. Let's go back to the phones. Let's try line number 1 again here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning. My name is Aileen.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. I like your show. I enjoy it very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm actually calling about the immigration as I am a legal citizen here, I'm happy to say. Came to America at age 2, couldn't get citizenship, so applied for it to the age of 1 year later at 19. Felt that was the legal thing to do. Felt I was an American from the day I got here.
Mm-hmm.
Country and follow all the rules. And my mom went to sponsor one of her sisters. And as you know, the process to becoming a citizen of the United States is lengthy. So she went ahead and sponsored one of her sisters who is an entrepreneur down in Florida. And
sure.
During the 10-year process of sponsorship, my mother passed away at 6 years. So my father went to immigration and said, is there any chance I can pick up where my wife left off? I would love it if I could just sponsor your sister. Got 3 companies up and running, tons of employees in Florida. I would love to see her stay here. We were told no.
Wow.
So we packed our bags, went back to England, Scotland, Spain. We came from Scotland. Opened up bed and breakfasts all over the place. Very successful. So when you think about it, we let somebody go that was bringing money, tax-paying money into this country.
Sure.
But, it's a shame, isn't it? It's just the way it works out. So, no, I have no sympathy for people who break the law, only because I follow it to a T.
You followed it to a T. You're right. And I mean, your family was torn apart a little bit with your sister having to go back, with having to start that process over. And it's unfortunate and it's heartbreaking, but that's the law and that's what you have to do. And I'm sure that you're trying to get her back over, trying to go through the process. And once it happens, it's going to be more fulfilling, isn't it? When you actually can say it's completed and it's done the right way, so we don't have to worry about this in the future.
Well, and it's nice to just feel like nobody's chasing me. Nobody's
Sure.
behind me. I mean, I don't have any fear. You know, I mean, I came to this country legally, stayed, and became a citizen as soon as I turned 18. I applied for citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mom got it when I was 14. She asked if she could bring me on. They turned her down. They said, no, she has to do it by herself now.
Sure.
So she has to wait till she's 18. So, you know, if you just follow the rule of law.
It's funny how things work out nicely, right?
It's just the way it's supposed to be. But thanks so much, Andy. Really enjoy your show.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much. And God bless you. I'm so glad you guys are here. Welcome aboard. That is awesome. That is such a cool story because you're right. Guess what? You don't have to worry about things. Everything's nice and easy. All you got to do is go through the process. Is it frustrating? Yeah. It's the government. How is it not going to be frustrating? Is it going to be a long process? Yeah. Welcome aboard. It's the inefficiency of the government, but at the same time, making sure that we're bringing the right people into the country the way that we need to. So God bless you and your family because that's a fantastic story. Maybe individuals like this could learn something from you. Got some more calls online. Stay here. Got to take a break. 24 minutes past the hour. When we can come back, we'll get to more of your phone calls and continue this discussion on a little bit more. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Here's another fun little tidbit for this story. Back in 2011, an immigration judge allowed Jamal to go back to Bangladesh on a voluntary departure to give him some months to arrange his exit and be able to refresh his visas. And the option was unlikely to be a forced removal, but it was a voluntary. Hey, if you go back, you can reset yourself, go for another card, and then come back again. And he refused to do so. Didn't want to leave because, well, of course, it was his family. Didn't want to tear himself from his family because, well, you know, hey, didn't think that he needed to do so. He's had option after option after option, door open after door open after door open, allowing him the opportunity to be able to not default on his visas, allowing him not to become an illegal status, and then for him not to get in trouble yet. He did not take these opportunities. He got himself in trouble, and now we're playing the victimhood. Shocker, right? Kind of seems how society's going today, right? Let's just play the victim because the laws are just mean to us, even though we had the opportunity for the last 30 years to rectify that situation. Funny how that works. Bottom of the hour news coming up. Got to take a break. Got some calls on the line. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. Starting off the next segment with you, the caller, the listener, 721-8255, 721-TALK. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Political talk trendy.
Oh my God, yes, more.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Making it happen today. It is a Monday. Welcome aboard. Great to have you along today. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join in, 36 minutes past the hour. If you want to talk about this topic and more, kind of wrapping that one up, it's time for News with Rick.
Boom, it's
Oh, the humanity!
ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Monday, sir.
Hey, happy Monday. Making it happen here on The Voice of Reason.
Doing the thing.
I even included a political story at the end for you.
We'll have a little fun.
How you like that?
I like it. Let's do it.
So much happening in the state of Kansas. Let's get going with it. This from last Friday, a fire at Kansas State University's dormitory displaced about 24 students. University officials say the fire early Friday morning started on the 4th floor of Wayfald Hall. All students were evacuated for about 3 hours. No injuries reported. Sprinklers actually got the fire out before firefighters got there. Officials say about $5,000 of damage to the building, $3,500 worth of damage to the contents. U.S. Senator Pat Roberts of Kansas says President Donald Trump's unexpected announcement last week about tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, quote, is not going to go down well in farm country, end quote. Wichita Eagle reports that Roberts and other Republican senators received no formal warning from the White House before Trump said Thursday he'd impose a 25% import tariff on steel and 10% on aluminum to boost U.S. manufacturers. Roberts says he and other Republicans from farming states and from the Senate Finance Committee have lobbied Trump hard in efforts to convince him that raising tariffs would negatively impact the rural and middle-class voters who supported his 2016 election. And no crop is probably as synonymous with Kansas as winter wheat. And the latest government report is now offering industry watchers a variety-by-variety breakdown. The National Ag Statistics Service reported Friday that the leading variety of wheat seeded in Kansas for the sixth consecutive year is Everest. It accounts for 9.3% of the state's 2018 planted wheat acres. That's followed by a variety called SY Monument at 6.6% and a variety called T158 at 6%. Founders of a political group trying to promote political candidates who believe in centrist positions rather than being entrenched in the Republican or Democratic parties. The Party of the Center started in Lawrence with people frustrated by the two primary political parties and independents. On Wednesday of last week, the group announced it was joining with a Denver-based organization called Serve America Movement. And that is the news.
It's a fun one. Appreciate that news there. It's funny you mentioned that. We talked about the centrist party last week, and let's do a little game of under or over. What do you say? What do you play?
Under, over.
Let's play this under or over. Okay. And here it is. With the centrist party, with the Party of the Center, along with the Save America Movement, SAM, and the POC groups, I give them 4% of the vote in the general election. Over or under?
You're over.
You think I'm over?
You're over.
They're not even going to get 4%?
No.
Yeah, no. See, there it is. You're not going to get it. You cannot try. What's their platform? What do they stand for? What are they going to do? Other than, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat.
The key word will be change.
Yeah, change. Well done. How's that worked out for us the last campaign? We heard on that. Yeah, see, that's what I'm a little concerned about. I don't want to. I want to hear a platform.
You're really going to give them 4%?
I will give them maybe 4%.
He's down to maybe now, folks.
Maybe 4%. I mean, that's a cap right there. That's a cap of 4%. Now, look, I mean, especially if they try and put up someone for like the governorship, we already have 4 independents. We have 2 libertarians outside of the norm of the two-party system.
Well, the only one they would pull from is independents, I would think.
Unless they put up somebody new that's backed by this independent group, because right now the independent candidates that I've heard are not backed by anybody. So for someone like a candidate, let's say, for example, like Greg Orman, not being backed by this Party of the Center, not backed by SAM, not backed by any of these movements of trying to create this third-party movement, because they are doing their own thing. So they're going to have to put up a new independent candidate that would make it number 5 with 2 libertarians. It's not going to happen for them.
Okay, so you're not supposed to speculate because you're a non-biased media reporter. Well, Republican speaking.
I'm a commentary.
Anyway,
yes.
If you were going to pick a front runner followed by a second front runner in the 2018 Kansas gubernatorial election right now, not endorsing by any means, but just as you're seeing it play out this early in the game. As an example, Wink Hartman talked about Donald Trump for president way before Donald Trump's name was even in the hat.
Sure.
Okay. And he called it. He called it right here on this microphone I'm speaking.
He did.
Okay. So if you were going to pick a front runner for
in the general election or the primaries?
In the primaries. And I've already got one. I mean, I'll go out on a limb.
Okay.
I think Kobach.
You think Kobach?
I really do.
He's definitely the front runner right now in the primaries. Mark Hutton and Ken Seltzer have gained some traction, and I think that they have a potential to start doing very well. But from the momentum, from the discussions, from the media commenting on and trying to put the nice little target on somebody's back. Right now, Chris Kobach's got the momentum in the primary.
Now, let me ask you a second question. Since his name already came up this morning, could you see a Kobach-Hartman ticket?
I could see it.
I could see it.
I don't know what they're looking at. Look, they always choose their running mate based on certain districts that they need help from or certain demographics that they need help from.
Okay, well, look at it politically then. I mean, purely politically.
Sure.
Kobach is much better known in the northeast quadrant of the state.
Sure.
And
Wink Hartman's known around here, which would definitely help him. The only reason I wouldn't see him choose Wink Hartman is if he's looking for someone on the western part of the state to try and rally that side, as they're predominantly a little more, quote-unquote, moderate on the Republican spectrum, and they're trying to appease some of those individuals. But I think Wink Hartman would be a solid choice if he chose to do so, because I think it would help him.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned on that one. Now, what about the Democrat side? We have, for the first time in 2 decades, a Democratic primary for the governorship. Jim Ward and Laura Kelly really are the top ones that are coming out.
Laura Kelly just gaining an endorsement from Kathleen Sebelius.
Which is wild, because Jim Ward and Kathleen Sebelius are really tight.
Or so you thought.
Jim Ward came out with a lot of momentum at first. Now Laura Kelly seems to be stealing some of that away. That's going to be a fun one to watch.
Is it a girl thing?
It's a girl thing. It's a girl thing. They got it going. They know what they're doing. I don't know. That'll be a fun one to watch. I'm just as excited about the Democrat race as I am the Republican right now.
Hey, did you watch any of... I did not. I'm going to preface this by saying I did not. It never even darkened the shadows of my TV screen. But did you watch any of the Oscars last night?
Yeah, I watched Natalie Portman say that women make 30 cents on the dollar compared to men. And then Jimmy Kimmel, of course, ripping Trump and Mike Pence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of it.
I was like, oh, click.
My life is really good today because I saw none of it. The sun is shining in Wichita, America, and yeah.
By the way, I did this in the first hour, but I got to ask you, who do you think was the highest paid actor in 2017?
Oh, boy. Give me a choice.
I will give you an option from the top 10 list.
Okay.
That I have here. Tom Cruise.
No.
Robert Downey Jr.
No.
Adam Sandler.
No, definitely not.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson or Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
He was number 1. Dwayne The Rock
How did
Johnson
I know
came in
that?
number 2.
I'm not even a Hollywood type.
There you go. Well, he's come out with some really good stuff. He's really made it big lately.
Yeah, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
I love Mark Walters. Well, Mark Wahlberg. I love Mark Wahlberg.
you got guns on the brain.
I got the guns on the brain, baby. That's our Second Amendment. No, Mark Wahlberg coming out at number 1, which, I mean, he made... what was the latest one? The family thing with the dads. I just watched it too.
No clue.
I don't remember. But anyways, he had that. He's had.
I catch
Ted.
my movies like
Ted?
6 months later. Yeah, I've seen Ted.
Okay, Ted's fan. And the second one, not quite as good, but still hilarious. Yeah.
The little furry guy, right?
The little Ted bear, yeah. That's it, yeah. That sits there and does things that you shouldn't be doing. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, number 2 at $65 million.
He's cool. I like him. He's like an all-American hero type guy.
He's amazing. He was actually number 1 2 years ago. Adam Sandler was at number 4, and I don't know a thing that he's made in the last year.
He's not funny anymore.
I lost interest in him after Happy Gilmore.
There is nothing funny about him anymore.
I didn't even know he made anything.
He does not ring the funny bell.
He does not. Robert Downey Jr., number 6. Tom Cruise, number 7. Jackie Chan at number 5, which I thought was kind of cool. Tom Hanks was down at number 12. Jennifer Lawrence, number 17, which I didn't, other than The Hunger Games, she hasn't really made anything.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, there it is. The top Hollywood paid actors and actresses, and then, of course, Natalie Portman, who breaks my heart, used to be my Hollywood crush, comes out with all this ridiculousness, and now I cannot support her, and now throwing a fit because although she makes multi-millions of dollars, she makes 30 cents on the dollar compared to the other men in Hollywood.
Think how much she'd have if she really got paid what she was worth.
If she really got paid, yeah. What do you do? This is the Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason, wrapping up hour number 2 already. It's hard to believe the show goes by way too fast. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. About 8 minutes to the top of the hour if you want to join in here. This portion of the Voice of Reason, as it is all the time on a Monday, brought to you by the AARP. Whether it's the Fraud Watch Network, the Retirement Calculator, getting involved in the community, just enjoying, wanting to become a caretaker, does not matter. AARP's got your information, aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. If you want to check them out online, Marin Turner back on the line with us here on a Monday. Marin, good morning to you. How are you today?
I'm great. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you back and talk about the latest when it comes to the AARP. It is beginning to be springtime almost. It is almost tax season, and we are still going under the ongoing war of identity theft every single day, which is troubling, but yet are we making some ground on it at least?
Well, I think we are, and here's some good news. There are going to be some new Medicare cards coming beginning April 2018 through April 2019. So if you're a Medicare beneficiary, watch your mailbox for a new card. The great thing about these new cards is they will no longer have your Social Security number on there, which helps to protect your identity. Instead, they'll have a new number that is very unique to you. So again, make sure you check your mailbox. If your current address is not up to date, then make sure that you update that so that you can receive the card. But still, watch out for scams. Medicare will never call you uninvited to ask you for personal information or to get your new card. No one should call you to say, you won't get your new card if you don't give me your personal information, if you don't send me some money, or they benefit or they threaten you in some way. So again, make sure you watch out for the card and protect yourself from scams. If you want more information about the new Medicare cards, you can log on to go.medicare.gov/new card.
Very good. It's going to definitely help with the identity when it comes to not having as much personal information on there, having your own kind of ID, identification number when it comes to the card, which is really good news. Being around tax season, and this has been going on for a while, have you heard any more of the scams of people calling in saying that they're from maybe Medicare or Medicaid, or that they're from the IRS and that you owe back taxes and that you can't hang up and you need to send them some money? Is that kind of scam still going on lately?
Unfortunately, yes. Those scams don't seem to completely go away, and new ones pop up, it seems, almost every day. And so we are inviting people to join our Fraud Watch Network. Call us at 1-866-448-3619 if you'd like to know about some of the newest scams in your area, or if you'd like to report a scam that's going on in your area. We would love to hear that as well.
Absolutely. One more time, how can people get a hold of you at the AARP if they have any questions, concerns, or comments for you guys?
They can call us at 1-866-448-3619 or log on to our website, www.aarp.org/KS. We'd love to hear from you.
I love it. Absolutely. Marin, always a pleasure to talk to you. Have a great week. We'll check in with you guys next Monday again.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Always a great time, brought to you by the AARP. They're brought to you by, check them out, aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. Doesn't matter what you're involved with. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Wrapping up hour number 2. Hour number 3 on the way. Blake Carpenter, State Representative, going to join us. He'll give us a legislative update. As you know, he is very in tune with some of the gun legislation happening in the state, and we'll get an update from him on what's happened over the last week or so in Topeka. I do want to comment on, we just got a couple minutes left, but I do want to ask you a question. And this is, I got to give President Donald Trump credit for this. He has been very consistent on this, and as you heard during the local news with Rick, and we've heard throughout the day this morning already and over the weekend, with the tariffs that President Trump's placing on imports for metals, aluminum, that sort of thing. And a lot of individuals not very happy about it. I was watching the news over the weekend. Governor Scott Walker out of Wisconsin made a comment saying, yeah, probably not the smartest thing to do. Many different governors across the nation saying, yeah, probably not the best thing to do. We'd really wish you'd, number one, warn us before you do these things. Number two, we wouldn't like to see the tariffs happen because this could affect the workers. This is going to affect our prices, and it goes on down the road. President Donald Trump has been very consistent on this. If you remember, this was one of the major issues that I disagreed with him on in the primaries, when he said he was going to put a tariff on cars and different manufacturing plants down across the Mexico border and wherever they may be, that he was going to put tariffs on them because he wanted businesses to stay here. And I totally get it. And it really comes down to the big difference of, are we going to punish or incentivize industries to actually grow? Are we going to incentivize them by saying, instead of putting a tariff on you and taxing you when you actually go across the border one way or another to incentivize you with tax breaks here, then you're going to want to stay on your own. And that's really what we need to be doing. And we started doing that with the tax break at the end of the year with Donald Trump's tax break for many corporations and businesses and individuals, wanting to keep them here. Now we're wanting to, I get it, the trade deals are off and they're not fair and that we're losing in a deficit when it comes to the trade wars that we have going on and that we haven't negotiated the best deals. I totally understand it. I totally get it. But at the same time, what's the best way to respond to it? Is it maybe to incentivize the production of the metals here locally in the nation as opposed to trying to just tax what's going to come across our border? There's a big difference there. And as we're talking about trying to spur the economy, as we're trying to look at different industries to grow, as we're looking at, look, last week we ran the stories that shows that 13 out of the 18 manufacturing industries in the nation grew in the month of February. They're doing well. We're seeing the economy come back. We're growing. We're doing well. We're flourishing again. Are we going to put a damper and a stop to it by putting tariffs on? Now, he said, you know what? Tariffs are great. The discussion's great. Trade wars are awesome. And that's true. But at whose expense? Just one thing that I disagree with President Trump, and I have since the beginning, doesn't mean that I'm wavering on my support for President Donald Trump, but it does mean that I would like to see maybe him open up the discussion to many of the governors in the country who actually understand these industries are going to affect their communities. Maybe here in Wichita with the aviation industry. Maybe in Wisconsin or in the Mid-America, in the Midwest region with Ohio and Indiana and Michigan and Illinois and Wisconsin and that whole area where they have a lot of the manufacturing plants. Tons of the blue-collar workers, tons of these individuals who work in the factories working on these things. And should we be penalizing them because of the price of them with the tariffs of the resources that they get in to actually do their jobs? It's going to take a hit on them. And now that the fact that they're actually beginning to grow again and they supported President Trump, that could come back to bite him in the end. We'll touch on that a little bit more in hour number 3 when we come back. Get your thoughts and calls on it as well. Blake Carpenter, State Representative, going to be with us in hour number 3, kicking off the third hour. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
But we can do so much better than just on the political front and taxes and government spending and government regulation. We can show by example that we're not going to have crazy fanatics running around our schools because they're so mentally unstable. We can prove that random acts of kindness, that a hashtag or the road to kindness can lead to something productive and that we can have a community that's actually going to be better off because of that.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Yeah, welcome into The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live across the entire South Central Kansas area, right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, also simulcasting on KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good Monday morning. Boy, oh boy, what a morning it's been already as you're sipping on your coffee. But this is better. Don't worry. All you got to do is listen to the show. It's better than a cup of coffee, a shot of espresso, even an energy drink, because we're just that excited as we set the tone for you on a Monday morning. Let's go ahead and get you set up. You're excited. You're pumped up. You're ready to go. You see the productivity options for you. It's whether you actually utilize them. We're Carpe Diem all over this place, baby.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
That's the way we roll. Welcome in 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, 9 minutes past the hour, you can shoot me a message all over social media. The Facebook Live feed is up and rolling today, which I love and appreciate everybody checking it out. We've had some great numbers on there today. Continue to do so. Just like it, share it onto your own page. Let's spread the word everywhere we can because conservatism, baby, is alive and well. I saw a story over the weekend that said that the young generation predominantly going more towards progressive values and conservative Republican young individuals are in the vast minority, and conservatism is beginning to die off, which I find a bunch of hooey. and malarkey and shenanigans, and it's just not going to happen under our watch because we're just not going to let it. 316-721-8255 on the phone with us. Let's get right to our guests, shall we? Talking about the young generation representing the conservatives, standing up for our values, standing up for what we believe in. We love having him on the program. State Representative Blake Carpenter on the line with us. Blake, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, Andy, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey,
yeah, the thing is that the liberal left likes to try to make it to where all millennials are liberal, and then unfortunately all the older generations start to believe it. But that's just not the case. I mean, you're not a liberal. I'm definitely not a liberal. And I've met other state representatives who are in their 20s around the United States, and they're not liberals either. Now, I mean, there are some out there, yes, but I would say that at large, you can't just classify everybody as being progressive liberals.
Well, just because they have a loud voice that the media allows them to have and they can kind of spout out whatever agenda that they want to does not mean that they're in the minority when it comes to our generation. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Exactly. And the thing is if you look at a lot of the individuals who are on the Republican side who are active in politics nowadays, especially from our area and the Wichita area, they all typically are conservative Republicans.
Yeah. The story is saying conservatism's dying out. Just I think is the scare tactic, like you mentioned, to try and scare us to think that, well, it's a lost cause. Why continue to fight for it? We just might as well give up and throw our hands in the air, throw our towels in the ring because it's done and over. And I don't see that happening. I mean, Blake, you yourself, being a state representative, you have fought so much for the Second Amendment in the state of Kansas. We have constitutional carry. We have carry on campus. We have a lot of laws that we have the right to be able to buy, sell, and trade in the state, unlike any other states or many other states in the nation. And it's largely because of what you fought for and so many young conservatives in the state have fought for.
Exactly. And, I'm proud to report that Kansas received an F for freedom, by the way, from a liberal organization in Washington, D.C. that says that our gun policies have basically made the state safer, or unsafer, I'm sorry. But anyway, so Kansas is supposedly, according to this liberal organization, 48th worst in America now.
Wow.
And, that, like I said, F stands for freedom in that case. So Kansans have more freedom when it comes to their firearms and the government making sure that their Second Amendment rights are protected.
Well, hey, I mean, we can celebrate that one, I guess. With the guns, I know that after the shooting that happened in Florida, with the story of the candidate for the 2nd Congressional District that's given away the AR-15, Kansas has made a lot of national news when it comes to our gun laws in the state. And now I've heard that there's some legislation floating around up there wanting to, the Red Alert bill, the Red Alert legislation to try and have some of the family members tell on other family members, get rid of due process and just ban them from being able to own firearms. Is that what's happening up there right now?
Yeah, there's been a Senate bill, House bill. They've been introduced. As far as how far they're going to get in the process, I couldn't tell you that at this point. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Basically, it's a for lack of a better term and definition, it's basically the communist system where they take your children or whoever into the school districts, brainwashing them, and then say report on your parents to the government, and we'll go in and we'll take them out, kind of a thing. It's not that bad. Well, it's getting there though. Basically, what the bills do is, hey, report your family members, and we'll go in, we'll take their firearms from them, and then after that, we'll give them due process, and then we'll figure out if we were really supposed to take away their guns or not. Now there's a lot of finger pointing, he said, she said, kind of thing, and really it could get into to the point where legal firearm owners are being accused of something that they've never done or said or anything like that. But now the government will be taking their firearms before they even ever have the due process.
That's a little scary. Where does that one end? If that, do you think I can't see that going through in Kansas, but if it does, where does that one end?
I have no idea. So I'm praying and hoping that doesn't go through here in the state of Kansas. And so we should be all right, I think, on that front, and that hopefully won't make it much further or come above the line in either chamber. And so hopefully we won't have to worry about that bill too much. But speaking of legislation and, the school shootings and everything that's happening, there's a task force that the speaker has created in order to provide better security for our schools here in the state of Kansas, or come up with items that would help provide better security for those schools. And so I'm involved in those conversations. And also, if you look at our state statutes, in 2013, the state of Kansas passed a law that said faculty at school districts can carry concealed firearms. But that's up to the local school boards in order to make sure, or in order to pass that, in order to allow them to do so. Unfortunately, since 2013, not a single school district in the state of Kansas has passed said policy.
Sure.
Basically, the biggest thing that they're throwing out, that the liberals are throwing out, is that the insurance company, I believe it's EMC, is the insurance company, and what they're saying is, if you pass a concealed carry policy, we will cancel your insurance. We will not give you any more insurance, and you'll have to find somebody else. So it's a scare tactic, and unfortunately, the school districts haven't wanted to challenge them on that. But at that point, I would say there's other insurance companies out there. Let the free market take over, and allow your faculty to conceal carry so that you can protect children that are there in the school. And I've had several teachers reach out to me that live in my district that say, hey, I'm a teacher. I've had parents look me straight in the eye and say, can you protect my child?
Mm-hmm.
And the teachers just, I can't. I would love to, but I can't until the school districts actually pass something along those lines. And if you look in Oklahoma and Texas, they're all expanding. I think Texas is, I heard somewhere that Texas is up to 100 school districts, and Oklahoma is up to like 13 school districts now that allow concealed carry for their faculty members.
Wow. Now, let's talk about this for a second. The legal ramifications. Let's say that they are carrying in the classroom. What are the legal or the insurance worries of a teacher carrying a concealed carry in the classroom in case something actually happens? What are the legal ramifications that we're all scared about?
Well, the insurance company believes that it's going to increase their liability for the school district and for the insurance company itself, and they just don't want to pay for it. But I would say, as a matter of fact, that it reduces the liability, because now you are protecting those students and you're allowing the security to take hold, and I would say is more of a deterrent and keeps the bad guys away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the school districts, what they can do is they can set up processes in order for people to conceal carry. So school districts have kind of a special deal that school boards can pass. So school boards can basically pass whatever regulation they want on somebody who's going to conceal carry in their facilities. Now, it's only for employees of that school district that have the ability to conceal carry. The public can't conceal carry into that school district, even if the school board allows the conceal carry on those premises. It's only for those employees.
Sure.
And they can also say you have to have a conceal carry license. You have to go and get a mental health check or talk to a psychologist once a month. You have to go train with the police department once a year and make sure that you can adequately fire your firearm and make sure you hit the target a certain amount of times.
Mm-hmm.
And they can require just as much as they want. And in order to make sure that, okay, well, our teachers are trained, our teachers know what they're doing, but the thing is they don't want to go that route. Basically, the biggest argument that I've heard from the left is because they'll lose their insurance.
Well, I find it very fascinating that during an election year when I thought that we were going to try and shy away from some of the Second Amendment debates in the state legislature, that this year it's actually been ramped up with the initial state reciprocity bill that turned into let's repeal carry on campus, to now the Eddie Eagle program, to now this one, to the Red Alert bill, to it seems like now, other than education and the budgetary issues, that the gun bills have really been about the only I guess I want to say productive, because we haven't really gone anywhere with them, but at least the focal point for our legislators in Topeka now.
It's always a major topic for us to consider and talk about, and I would say it's always in the forefront of everybody's minds, especially the individuals who serve on the Federal and State Affairs Committee. That's one of the ones that I serve on.
Sure. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the taxes. We haven't heard anything yet about how we're going to compensate for all the additional spending that they want to put in place. That may come at a later time, but there has been some talk about online sales taxes to be implemented for the state. Also, when it comes to property taxes, Blake, the question is, are we going to start seeing our taxes go up in some way, shape, or form?
It has that potential. Here's something that your listeners might be interested in. On Wednesday, March 7th, there will be a hearing on House Bill HB 2740. That's HB 2740 if your listeners want to go look it up. It's a page long, and about a third down the page, it talks about increasing your state mill levy. And so basically it goes from 20 mills, which is the mandated 20 mills mill levy that we already currently have in place, and then it goes from 20 mills to 26.76 mills in school year 2018 and 19, and then it goes to 32.82 mills in school year 2019-2020, and 38.43 mills in school year 2020 and 2021. And so basically your property taxes could, under this bill, go up about 20 mills in order to cover the $600 million deficit that basically we're looking at, or that they want to spend on these schools. And so it's mind-boggling to me. And I mean, if you have a conversation with an individual who's a liberal, they'll already tell you that the 20 mills that the state currently counts as its funding doesn't count as state funds. It counts as local revenue. And so they'll have that argument with you. So, okay, well, the state's going to increase at about 20 mills extra. So now we're going to be sitting on almost 40 mills a year. And the liberals will still say that, the state shouldn't get credit for that.
Yeah.
And it's not enough. Exactly.
Well, I find it funny that we're talking about the property taxes as well, and you coming from even the Derby area, we just saw the local school bond issue raising property taxes for the Derby school district just locally there as well. So everybody that openly voted for that to increase the mill levy rates for that one for that price of a pizza a month, because that was it. It's not going to be that expensive. It's going to be all right. Now we could potentially see more
per $100,000.
Per $100,000, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So if you own a $300,000 home, now you're buying 3 pizzas instead of just one.
But now we're going to see even more money potentially come out when it comes to the property taxes statewide, and it's never going to end. I wonder if they're going to have any buyer's remorse when it comes to voting for that local school bond issue.
There's always that potential. I ended up seeing some discussion on public forums that alluded to that, and they weren't sure where the state is going to go on taxes. But if this is where the state goes, then there's 3 bond questions. The first one passed, which was close to $114 million, and then the other 2 failed.
Right.
And those were almost about another $10 million combined. And so the largest one passed, and so that will increase the property taxes the most. And then if this were to go into effect, that would, well, I think if individuals voted for this, they wouldn't be returning to the legislature anytime soon.
Probably not. Blake Carpenter, State Representative for that area. By the way, before we let you go, we got about a minute or so left, but you actually, about a week or so ago, you actually got to do an interview on MSNBC. I feel bad for you wanting to go into enemy territory there, but how'd that go?
It actually went really well. I talked to them for like 25 minutes,
wow.
And they showed about 10 seconds to 20 seconds worth of me in that clip, and so it was very interesting to see how they kind of spun the story a little bit. I think that there was a better story to be had, but unfortunately they were more interested in the angle of talking to the teenagers who are running for governor instead of the facts behind the bill and what the legislation is actually doing.
Sure.
And not that I'm trying to keep them out of the legislative process or even running for office, but I think that they should at least be of legal voting age to be able to do so. And so it was an interesting interview. It wasn't Rachel Maddow or anything like that I was being interviewed by, so it wasn't too bad, I guess.
Well, I guess it was still going across enemy lines for MSNBC. It would have been fun, though, if you did get on to Rachel Maddow and she could try and interview you, and then you could be interrupted by panda bears like it did with Hillary. I mean, you never know. The opportunity's still there for that to happen at a later time.
Well, as long as I get my therapy llama, I'll be okay.
There we go. State Representative Blake Carpenter. Always a pleasure, my friend. Keep up the great work. You guys are doing some great stuff up there. I know that we're not going to hear anything when it comes to the taxes or the spending or even the educational debate for a while yet, but keep your head up, and we got your support back here.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andy. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Always a great time. That's State Representative Blake Carpenter right there. 24 minutes past the hour. Let's take a break. We'll open up lines to you when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Thanks again to State Representative Blake Carpenter. 29 minutes past the hour. Went a little long in that one. We got the bottom of the hour news coming up in just a minute, but that's all right. When we come back, it's open lines to you, whatever you want to talk about. It is, we can discuss really anything. I do want to get back to a little bit of that tariff debate. It would be kind of fun, though, going on to MSNBC. Just think about that. You know you're going into enemy territory. You know that they're not going to agree with what you had to say. You can try and win a few over, or at least make them hate you a little bit less, because at least you make some rational discussions, but at the same time, you're having MSNBC listeners. They don't think rationally anyways. So you just have fun with it. That would be a blast. Bring it on, baby. Maybe I'll get the call today sometime for an interview on that station. I'll wait for that one. Coming up, open lines to you. This is The Voice of Reason.
Get away, I wanna fly away, yeah. Bang,
bang. Spreading the love on a daily basis.
And I will always love you.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Well, if that doesn't wake you up, I don't know what else will. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Making it happen today. It's a Monday morning, 36 minutes past the hour. Appreciate you hanging out with us very, very much so. We love it. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. It's open lines to you for the last half hour of the program today. As you know, President Donald Trump wanting to impose his 25% tariff on steel imports, 10% tariff on aluminum imports, and not too many people happy about this. Look, for those that say Donald Trump's not consistent, that he just says whatever he wants to say, he's been very consistent on this. And it's something that I have not agreed with him on, one of the few things that I have not agreed with him on. But placing the tariffs on manufacturing, if you notice, he went after the auto industry as soon as he got into office. He was talking about that when he was running for president during the campaign, and said that he would impose the tariffs because he wanted to keep the manufacturing plants here. Guess what? Now they're beginning to stay here. Some of them that had talked about moving decided to stay. And we're seeing the revenue from that. We're seeing the industries grow. We're seeing people get back to work. We're seeing really good things happen. Now we're wanting to impose this tariff. Now, he did say that he would repeal these tariffs if we ended up making a new NAFTA negotiation that actually worked better in the U.S. Look, there's only a very few things that we can do to actually try and encourage our neighboring states or countries that we actually do business with on how to treat us. There's only very few things. And one of the biggest ways, really the only way, is with trade. If they have a certain portion of their country's revenue or their business or their jobs or their manufacturing or their whatever, based on how much they send to us with their trade, and we start limiting that, they're going to change their ways pretty quickly. The question is, though, how do we go about making them change their ways? Is it imposing the tariff to where they're paying us more, or is it that we start limiting that trade and we start doing it independently? President Donald Trump has done very, very well when it comes to oil and natural gas. How many oil rigs has he opened up around our own shores? Drilling for our own oil rather than buying it from somebody else. We've done very well with that. We opened up Anwar. We've opened up more offshore drilling down on the coast. We've opened up more inland drilling and fracking. We've done some things that Barack Obama had it lingering over him. He had the carrot in front of him, but he never actually bit it because he didn't want to, because that was the progressive agenda. Now we've opened up oil rigs and drilling all across the nation, and we've become more independent when it comes to oil drilling. Why can't we do the same thing when it comes to steel and aluminum? Why can't we produce it ourselves more so than placing just a high tariff on it? And if we do that, then we won't interrupt the process of the manufacturing here. Look, as we mentioned, 13 out of the 18 manufacturing industries grew last month, and they've been consistently growing over the last few months because of the Donald Trump agenda. We don't want to kill that. We need to grow it. So the question I have to you is, what's the best way to actually make that happen? Quote, we have large deficits with Mexico and Canada. NAFTA, which is under negotiation right now, has been a bad deal for the USA. Massive relocation of companies and jobs. Tariffs on steel and aluminum will only come off if new and fair NAFTA agreement is signed. Trump tweeted earlier this morning. He had a quote, also, Canada must treat our farmers much better. Highly restrictive. Mexico must do more on stopping drugs from pouring into the U.S. They have not done what needs to be done. Millions of people addicted and dying. I get where he's coming from. Maybe we haven't done this in a while, but
what Donald Trump really meant to say.
I mean, there's only so many things that we can actually try to encourage, again, other nations to do. When we share borders with another nation, how do we go about making them treat us nicely, yet still have some kind of competition, yet still get along nicely when it comes to trade deals or people coming across the border one way or the other? And then we actually try and make a happy-go-lucky neighbor. That's what we need to have. And Donald Trump's right. Yes, we have drugs coming over. We have human trafficking coming over. I mean, come on. Wichita is one of the largest places for human trafficking coming from and going to the Mexican border because it's a straight shot. If you go down to El Paso, Texas, if you go down to some of these other border towns, you know that they're going to be ones that are up in the air when it comes to actual safety. You need to look over your shoulder all the time. You don't know what's going to happen, especially if you're a woman or a child that's traveling relatively alone. You need to be careful. Yeah, we need to address those things. But at the same time, how are you going to make Mexico do that? The Mexican government's just as corrupt as some kind of mafia. The mafia actually runs half of the Mexican government. That's why we have an issue. When you go down there, as you notice, sometimes you got to slip the law enforcement some extra cash. That way, when they pull you over, maybe you didn't even do anything. You got to slip them the little bucks so that way they like, okay, move along your way. Go about your business. That's not how a government's supposed to run. And we're supposed to hold them accountable for their actions on who's coming and going from the border? It's not going to happen. They don't care because they're making good amount of revenue from those types of transactions with going and coming from our borders. Canada's a little bit nicer, eh? But yet still we need to look at it. We need to be able to enforce our immigration laws. If you remember, before President Trump got into office, during the last year of Barack Obama, we were reading stories about how certain individuals from not Mexico, but from the Middle East, were even coming across the Mexican border because there was no type of immigration enforcement. And now we're hearing about the story from the scientist the chemist up in Lawrence being held prisoner and the victimhood status that he has. And we talked about that last hour. When we start enforcing our borders, it's our duty to see who's coming and going from the border. And when it stops actually working and becoming effective, then they will change their ways. We can't hold them accountable and say, hey, look who's coming across the border into our country. You better stop that. We better stop that. I mean, I guess you can do some of the trade deals. But again, there's a difference between punishing and a difference to incentivizing. And I'm all for the incentivizing. I'm all for the positive encouragement, the positive reinforcement instead of the negative reinforcement. Sometimes we need negative reinforcement, but sometimes it works better with the positive reinforcement. Do you upset the corporation and the business owner and saying, hey, we're going to place a major tariff on it, 25% on all the steel that you're bringing into the country. We're going to put that on there. And if you want to buy it, if you want to use the steel for manufacturing, if you're building cars, if you're building equipment, if you're building aviation, if you're building whatever, and you have all these blue collar workers that are dependent on your paycheck, and then you start raising the price of the good, and then people stop purchasing it as much because it's more expensive, and it just snowballs down. Is that the incentivizing that we need? Or are you going to say, you know what, Mexico, you're treating us poorly. We don't like what you're doing. We're going to try and renegotiate NAFTA the best we can, but if you don't negotiate it the way we want to, no, we're not going to place a tariff on. We're just going to limit how much we're actually trading. We're going to actually make our own. We're going to manufacture our own, so that way it's American-made. We're not spending the money on the tariff, or there's them spending the money on the tariff. It's not going to raise the price of the good, and then we can go about our business the proper way. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. I want to get your perspective on this because, as you've heard, there are many states that are upset about the fact that we're placing tariffs on. Governor Scott Walker made a big deal on Twitter and was actually on over the weekend saying, hey, you know what? I don't know what you're doing here, but it's not going to help our industries much. When we're seeing manufacturing industries grow, 13 out of the 18 manufacturing industries growing last month, we're seeing the economy come back. We're seeing 3.5% GDP growth. We're seeing major things happen. Let's not kill that incentive by placing major tariffs on and raising the cost of steel, raising the cost of the aluminum, raising the cost of all the goods that are made by the steel and the aluminum, decreasing the amount of people that are actually spending the money on these products because they're more expensive, and then killing off the actual industries that are keeping people at work. That's what I don't want to see. Let's go to Rick with the news.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
What do you think, Rick?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
What happened? We're doing the thing.
Gotta get the price of that metal up before it's time to build the wall.
Well, then we could build. See, as long as we build the wall, like I just mentioned, we need to actually get our own matters in order before we actually try to tell our neighbors how to address their issues.
There you go.
That's what we got to do.
Go. News from across the state. Lawrence making plans for its high schools to start 25 minutes later in August of 2019 because research shows that teens need the sleep. The Lawrence Journal-World reports that school board member Rick Ingram has long called for later start times. He cites research that indicates it improves academic performance, attendance, and graduation rates while reducing tardiness, teen vehicle accident rates, and sports injuries. So there you go. All right, get back to my normal music here. I had
to play the sob story there. There we go.
Authorities say a man drove off with a Wichita police officer clinging to an open car door over the weekend, and then that vehicle went on to hit two parked vehicles. Police said in a news release that the officer was able to pull himself into the car before the collision and sustained only minor injuries. Police say a struggle ensued Saturday when officers attempted to take the man into custody during a traffic stop. Now, once the crash happened, the perpetrator escaped through the sunroof of the vehicle. Police tried to set up a perimeter. Suspect got away. A person riding in the car was arrested, though. She was lodged into the Sedgwick County Jail on possession of drugs and other charges. A new report from the University of Kansas Office of Public Safety says crime on the Lawrence campus is down 13%. Officials say 99 fewer incidents were reported in 2017 compared to the previous year. Historically, theft is the most reported crime on KU's campus. And the U.S. Geological Survey says that two earthquakes shook Wichita yesterday. The latest was at 9:40 last night, and it happened in Enid, Oklahoma, with a magnitude of 4.2. And the first earthquake was just after 5 o'clock on Sunday in Wichita and surrounding areas. The USGS says that one also registered 4.2 in that magnitude. So far, no damage reported. Just a few people were shook up.
See, I like what you did there. Do you have to be in a certain mindset to be able to feel the earthquake? Because, again, I've been here for 2.5, 3 years. I have yet to feel one. And then I see everybody on social media, oh, did you feel that? Oh, we shook. Oh, there was an earthquake. And I don't see it. I don't feel it.
I think the reason that these two actually were so well documented on social media is it was on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first one around 5 o'clock, second one around 9 o'clock. What are people doing on Sunday? They're sitting on their butt in front of the TV, not moving. So you're a mover and a shaker. That's why you have never felt one. You're a mover and a shaker.
That's what I do.
In your own right.
In my own right. So, well, I guess that's true. If you're moving around, it's harder to see. I guess if you see things shaking on the wall, that'd be a good. It's either I'm like going dizzy or there's an earthquake and things are shaking around. We actually had it was kind of creepy. Saturday night. There wasn't an earthquake Saturday night, was there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of.
Not that the news is reporting either.
Saturday night around 9 o'clock. One of our pictures randomly just like started shaking and fell off the wall.
That could have been a psychic event.
Well, then there could have been that.
It could have been a spirit within the house that has yet to be cast out.
I guess so. I thought
I
it might
would
have been an
strongly
earthquake,
suggest burning some sage.
Nah, see, we had
and waving it around with an eagle feather.
See, well, I guess you could do that. We had the sage, but it smells so bad. It smells like someone was smoking pot in the house when you do that.
Now, how would you know that, Andy?
Hey,
how would you know that?
That's why I do not have that stuff, because it reeks. It's terrible, and the sage is even worse. I can't do that. But I thought it might have been an earthquake, but I guess it was like 9 o'clock on Saturday night, which there was no earthquake at that time. So now the things that make you go,
Research has shown that methods to hang pictures other than push pins are a good idea.
It was a nail.
It was a nail.
It was a nail. And it was pointed upward. It's not like it,
I'm
don't
going
know.
to go back to the psychic experience.
There you go.
That's the news.
That's Rick with the news there.
And that's the news.
Got to take a break, wrapping up the show today. It is a Monday. Your thoughts and calls when we come back. 49 minutes past the hour. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Up the show today. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Great to have you along today. Appreciate everybody that's jumped on the show with me, that's made the comments all over social media. We love you very much. We appreciate that very much. If you do want to jump in, there are just a few minutes left. 316-721-8255. Getting the messages about the picture falling down. It was weird. I don't know. It might have been a vehicle that drove by, although we live on a relatively quiet street. I don't think anything weird was happening. It was weird because it's on two nails, and both of them were pointing up. They're in the studs. They didn't move. This picture's never moved at all before, but it popped off a one, and what startled us was it started banging. It was in the bedroom, and it banged as it started swinging on one, and then it stopped. And then we fell asleep, and then we woke up the next morning, and it was on the ground. So it must have fell again sometime throughout the night. So it was very strange to see it. I looked on the back of it, and I mean, there's a board on the back, like a little piece of wood, so therefore it didn't really like break through or anything. I don't know. It was kind of odd. 316-721-8255. Don't fret. Don't worry. It's okay. We're not having any weird things happening or anything. If we do, we can call the Wichita Paranormal Research Society. We've had them on the show before. That would be fun. Kind of miss that, too, going on ghost hunts once in a while. We used to do that every once in a while, and that was entertaining. I do want to remind you, being as the active, engaged voter that you are, we always need to have our guard up. We always need to be aware of what potentially could happen in our districts, and it could swing at any time just like that. As soon as we take a breath and we think that we're comfortable and that everything's going to be okay, things start turning, and we don't want that to actually happen. There's a big movement now from the Democrats. As you know, the Democrats in Kansas are broke. They have been struggling with an identity. They've been struggling with actual solid campaigns to run with a vision, and right now they're trying to mend the party that's been torn by Bernie Sanders, by Hillary Clinton, and by the establishment. They don't know exactly what to necessarily stand on. But now the National Democratic Committee, the DNC, is launching a new program called I Will Vote, an unprecedented new campaign with 4 different initiatives: Commit to Vote, voter registration, voter education, and voter protection, along with Get Out the Votes. Their big initiative. Now, this is stemming, I'm guessing, probably from Chris Kobach and the voter ID laws that have come out, and the ACLU trying to attack him from that. I'm sure has a part of it. They don't like the fact that we still have the Electoral College, so they're trying to register more people to vote. That's all they do. If you remember, I remember in college, and the only thing the Democratic Party actually did, the college Democrats, the only thing they ever did on campus was register people to vote. Because they think that the country is predominantly left-leaning, and if they can get more people to register to vote and show up, then they're actually going to win. They don't care about actually advancing a platform, advancing an idea, advancing an agenda. The agenda is just going to fall into place, and the agenda is really going to be whatever the flavor of the day actually is, and they're going to be the populists. They're going to be the popular ones to try and win that over. But if they can just get you to register, then they're going to win. That's their mindset, at least. And they're still trying that same kind of mindset. The I will vote, commit to vote. Will you vote? We'll make sure. We'll drive you there. We'll take you there. We'll make sure that you get to the voting precinct. Maybe if you want to vote in 2 different precincts, then that might be okay too. We'll have to take a look at that one. But let's make sure that you vote, and we'll do whatever it takes to make sure to get you there. So important. Voter registration. Let's get you to vote. Remember Acorn back in the day? The John McCain, Barack Obama election 2008, the Acorn issues to where they were registering dead people. They were registering people more than one time. They're registering babies. They're registering elder. They're registering everybody, just signing them up. Hey, signing them up. Now, Acorn's not around anymore, but come on. You really think that initiative actually died off? You really think so? You really think so? Voter education and protection. We don't want no evil Chris Kobach telling us that you actually have to have an ID, because the minority groups, whether you may be black or Hispanic or Asian or something, you may not have any type of ID, which I would say would be racist, because that's a little ridiculous saying that just because you're not white, you don't have an ID. But according to progressives, if you're a minority, then you probably don't have some type of ID, and therefore it's racist to actually prove that who you are when you actually go to vote. So numerous people can vote under your name. Come on. Just be open like that. Love everybody and let everybody use your name to vote. Come on, why not? This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. Have a great Monday, everybody.